Submission counters from the back mount. The name of the section is kind of misleading. It leads you to believe that we're going to teach you how to get out of submissions once they're fully locked up. And although we will eventually teach you these emergency escapes, the best way to escape submissions from the back mount is to avoid them altogether to begin with. So the absolute best way to avoid getting caught from the back is
never give your back.
And if you accidentally give your back,
immediately take it back.
Should we run that back?
No.
The early escape from the back mount. The early escape. It's the first one we're going to show you. Why?
It's the first back escape that we ever learned, okay? And it's the first back mount escape that we resort to here when we're training.
Still to this day, it's the original back mount escape. I guess the premise for this escape is simple. If you can get your back, your shoulder blades on the ground, your opponent will no longer be on your back. Now, this can be done, there's a couple variations we want to show you. It can be done from the sitting back mount where they have their hooks in and you find your way to the ground, or it can be done from a kneeling position, okay, when they're on your back and they have their hooks in. In either case, the goal is to get your back on the ground, because once your back is on the ground, they are no longer on your back. Now, it's possible that you try and this technique fails. It doesn't work. And in that case, we have other back mount escape options. But this is the early escape for that simple reason. You want to get out as soon as you can. Because as long as someone's on your back, you're immediately exposed at any moment to a submission. And we can't afford that danger. We got to get out right away. You know?
So, I don't want to stay here, of course, doing nothing, because my neck is exposed. Yes, being choked. So my arms, I'm going to start with doing this. 1, 2. Okay? I put 2 arms, one arm here and my other arm right here. The reason for this arm is so he can't do the rear naked choke. Okay? So I eliminate that. Now, the reason for my other hand is because he's going to come underneath and grab my collar right here, or hold hands. So, I want to prevent him from controlling me. So I'm here.
The over-under.
I would like, from the back, to establish the over-under. It would give me tremendous control. And with the submission lessons you learned previously, you understand the value of the over-under is incredible. So an early escape is based on the fact that Hidon basically does this arm situation and prevents me from establishing the over-under or grabbing that lapel for a choke. Okay, I lean my body also forward, because if I'm here, there's so much space, it's going to be easier for Henry to come around. Basically, the more he leans back, the more Hidon's back is connected to my chest. We are one. So his whole goal, remember, is to get his back on the ground, which means the more distance between his back and my body, the better. And he accomplishes that by leaning forward very dramatically, boom, and having a very wide base. This foot going out is going to help me push off and drive my back, my shoulders into the floor right here. So here I am, I push his hand away, I drive. Look how Hidon's back right here is on the ground, separate from me. I'm not stuck to his back anymore. This is very bad for me, good for him. This foot of mine, moving a little bit, keeps me at this angle. And I lift my hips up, which drives my shoulders heavy into the ground. I would like to, if Hidon would let me, I would like to pull him back right now and reestablish the control. But once he gets to the ground, he's so persistent with his shoulder weight that I can't. Now, as I try to mount from here, there are really 3 options that can happen. Once you lay your back on the ground, there are 3 things that can happen. Worst case scenario is they remount. They go to the mount, which is still much better than you on my back.
Yes, so it's not that worst. Let me go back. So, best thing to do, or the best thing for me, would be to establish the mount. So therefore, that's the worst for Hidon after we escape the back mount. The second option, lift your hips up. The second option, once Hidon gets his back on the ground right here with his elbows down, that could possibly happen. The second option is he braces my knee, hips, and he shrimps out, and he brings his hooks in. Boom. Okay, it's another option. And what happens here is he ends up either being able to sweep me or getting me in the guard, which is much better, like 100 times better, than having me mounted on him. When did that happen? As I tried to mount him, he shrimps out and brings his knees in. The third option, which is 100 times better,
than getting in the guard thing.
Getting him in my
Because
guard.
if he slips out little by little, and I stay here, he can get up to his elbow and get on top. Okay, so if you can end up, spin out from the back mount and end up inside the bad guy's guard, like, incredible. Now, that's not always possible. Again, which one you end up with is largely based on how they act once you put your back on the ground. So for this drill here, we're doing the sitting variation of the early escape. Again, we want you to learn. We want you to learn how incredibly important it is to understand that you can really minimize trouble from the back if you respond early and you protect your neck. Essentially what's happening here is when you put your hand up, you are forcing the fact that the choke, think about this. Let's see if we can take it back one step. Let me ask you a question. If he don't had an over-under and he wanted to choke me, which side would you like me to fall towards? This side, because the choke is more immediately, we're here, right? And what happens is if I begin to fall this way, what I don't want to risk is that Hidon's hand sneak over my neck and choke me here. Lapel choke or rear naked. I don't want to risk that. So before Hidon gets a hold of me, by doing this, what am I forcing? I am forcing the fact that he can only choke me with this hand. The only available choke option here would be a lapel choke possibly, since he can't go rear naked because my shoulder and ear are glued together. And look what I'm doing. I'm not behind my head. I'm in front. My forearm and elbow are hooked right over kind of my forehead here, in front of, above my forehead. And I grab my ear on the other side. But this glue right here, the glue from here to here is incredible. So again, I'm forcing Hidon to only have one side from which he could possibly choke me. But guess what? If he's choking me with this hand, I can lay down the ground this way and untangle it. So even if Hidon gets a lapel, if you got a lapel and I fell this way, look, it gets tighter. In other words, you don't want to fall toward the choking arm. If a choke is going to happen, you want to fall the other way. And by putting your hands up, again, you're forcing the fact that Hidon can't start the choke on this side. Boom. And then even if he gets a lapel, half choke right here, get your hand on the lapel, it's weak. Because right now, even if he gets a lapel, I'm going to unravel it. Look. Literally unravel the choke. There is no choke here.
I could do one thing to complicate your life, and that's assuming that I catch this collar. Go ahead, cover up. Is that, wait, my bottom hand grabs something.
Yes.
That's why you're waiting right here. His hand is waiting. So when I come through, it pushes it away. Boom.
Exactly. Now, once you get this hand right here, this hand up on your head is only, this hand up here is only necessary as long as that hand is out. Okay? Because if I bring it down, he might shoot over. Boom. So this hand up is only necessary. Now, once I fall down right here, I can bring this hand down because there's no chance that Hidon's hand goes around my neck. And if he does rip this hand out right here, by that time I'm already gone anyways. So the hand is up only to prevent that initial shot. To give me one split second to shoot to the ground while knowing that no matter what, no one's going to come through here for the choke. So remember, whichever side the hand comes up, you're forcing, you want to go to that side. Whichever side your hand goes up and protects on, that's the side you want to throw your shoulders on the ground to.
Arm up, hand covering the head, and then this foot a little bit out.
That's so important because if you just fall, a stronger guy will kind of force you the other way. You want to do everything possible to make sure we end up on the ground over here. And not only am I pushing myself to the ground, I don't want to be close to Hidon. I'm pushing myself to the ground as far forward. You guys feel it from here, right? I want to lay my shoulder and head over here. Boom. Look how far our bodies are from each other.
And if I start to move towards you a little bit,
He's running from me using this foot. And as soon as I land, my hands can come down because there's no more choke threat because my shoulders are on the ground. And now my hands come in here for the knee primarily, hips out, and then hooks in. And because Hidon got up so well, I would end up in a guard or open guard situation. So I think we're getting pretty close. The most important thing is that there's no initial shot. Boom.
And when do you go? When after this point do you drive your back into the ground?
2 or 3 minutes later. Right away.
And once you hit,
boom. Oh, you go. Yeah, and look how Hidon's hands come down right away. In other words, don't keep your, because here's the deal. You might be confused as to why I'm emphasizing the drop of the hands. And the reason is simple. If you keep your hands there, they're going to mount for sure. Your hands have a more important mission once you hit the ground than doing this. Once you hit the ground, their mission changes dramatically to mount prevention, guard retrieval, and possible.
And you can only drop your hands. Possible what?
Possible getting on top and going into guard.
You can only drop your hands once you believe what he said earlier, which is once your back is on the ground, they can't choke you.
Right. So how do you figure out for sure if you can believe that?
How do you figure out for sure? You just lay on your back and you have your partner attempt to choke you.
Test it. Do like the Grandmaster did.
So when I lay down,
boom. Freeze. Right now would be a good time to test to see if I could choke Hidon. He's driving off his feet so well right now, and his shoulders are so incredibly heavy.
my hips are like an inch off his thigh. If I rest on his thigh, then my shoulders will be
I'm
lighter.
gonna rip him back in.
So my hips are lifting
Super
up.
heavy. And now he feels my vibe, and he's getting his hooks in. As long as I don't end up mounted, life is great. Okay? Now, people will still end up mounted on you. Even to this day, as Hidon and I escape each other's back mounts, our remount techniques are so incredibly tight. Our hooks, our transfer, and our hip pressure are so good that we end up mounting on each other oftentimes. But guess what? We don't really mind that much. No. Because ask Hidon, any day of the week, would he rather have me on his back or mounted on him? Ask him.
Mounted.
100%. If I'm on his back, the submissions are so imminent. They're so right there.
In general, we always say that the worst place you could end up in a fight is with somebody mounted on you.
That's not true.
But there's an even worse place, and that is somebody on your back.
Which is also the mount, it's just from the back. So, this is the absolute worst case scenario
You
from here.
can't see the person. You have no idea where punches are coming from.
No
You don't.
idea.
Not being able to see is not a good thing. So,
Now, what if you're here and they kind of get it a little bit? Here's the deal. The over-under greatly reduces the slipability, the slip-out ability of your body when they have you locked. Because the reason so that makes sense is because Hidon's preserving his chest against my back. Hidon's preserving the closest with this. So it's really kind of tricky actually. So when this happens, this hand here can kind of be used to kind of give a little pull, hand up, and you can still try to drive your shoulders and your back to the ground. I'm pushing out this foot. So same technique. Instead of sliding away down here, because I can't, I'm going to slide a little more upward here. So protect, start putting my head inside Hidon's head. Look, my head inside his is very annoying for him. He doesn't like this. He likes this. How do we know he likes this? When we learned the triple threat position, one of the requirements was keep the head inside. So that means if I do this and I do this, now I'm pushing off my foot, and little by little I start to drive my shoulders to the ground right here. He's still holding me, but I'm still focused on the same principle, which is get your shoulders on the ground. And once I do here, boom, same thing. Start to push right, get my hooks in. Shrink my hips out and bring my hooks in. Hooks in the thigh. Primarily the top hook. Then from there you can do elevator sweep, or you can just go to guard. Do that one time. Do that one.
what's interesting about this right here is this might take a little more time than the other escape, than being here without him holding the over-under.
Yeah, so let's say you put your hand, this would happen when they get the back, and Hidon doesn't grab my wrist and push it away. If he pushes my wrist away, it's very hard for me to stop him from laying down where he wants to. He has good wrist control. So that bottom hand is so critical. Okay?
Now let's say sometimes people put their hand here next to their ear, and then they do this. Don't do that. This is very common. Okay? The arm is here.
Now, if your hand wasn't here, we're going to see in the future where sometimes your hands are down like this, then that's okay to have your hand by the ear and be protecting it. Both hands are down. But don't get that confused with this one. When your ear is protected here, that's enough. All you have is this. Boom. Push yourself to the ground. Now, if I have a little bit tighter, let's say I'm holding my wrist. Again, Hidon's going to keep doing it. Grab my wrist, start pulling it down a little bit, and then start to walk his shoulders to the ground over my arms. Look at that. Walking, 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 and then he's gone. So two variations of the same move. First the knee, hip out, knee hooks in, and then a little flip if you want. So I guess there are essentially two variations of the early escape. Actually, in the next slice, we're going to see a whole separate variation from your knees. But within this slice, there are kind of two mini variations, and they are the really early escape, and then
when it's locked up. Let me do it one more time. Let me focus on getting my head inside your head, your face. So you lock hands.
yes,
And I fall Okay, I grab, I drive, and I put my head right here.
If you don't get his head to the ground, and notice how he's starting to drop this elbow over here. Why is that? Why is he dropping the elbow? Because he knows my hand is underneath his arm.
If I was like this, he could possibly come here. But I'm already smashing his arm.
His weight is on my, his feet are very well widely based.
Hold your wrist. Hold right here. Start messing with his hand, his fingers. Go back, lock hands right there. From here, if you can push his thumb right here, push his palm, do whatever you want. Just keep your shoulders heavy, keep your hips up.
So you're sliding up more at a northward angle. That's the main difference. You're sliding up this way versus to the side, as in the first piece of the press.
Clear? So let's put the hooks in. You're kind of cheating, basically. When they put their hooks in, the drill should begin with what back person puts their hooks in, front person, hands up, and then drives to the ground as fast as they can. Once they drive to the ground, I guess that's the drill. Once they land on the ground and their shoulders hit the ground, the other person try to recover the control.
And what prevents that is the leg.
Super wide base.
And the hips being off, start thigh, shoulders heavy.
Yes, exactly. And both shoulders kind of getting on the ground. Start squaring up and facing your opponent little by laying your back on the ground.
Put your back on the ground and face your opponent.
That's essentially what you want to do.
Don't put your back on the ground and then roll away from your opponent.
Yeah, so you're turning into
giving your back again.
Huge deal. It's implied. We hope that you got that from the presentation. Once you're back to the ground, wiggle, wiggle, start facing, and then as soon as they let go of the back mount and they try to advance their position, that's when you start bracing the legs. And remember, if you slip out like that and they keep laying on the ground, they do not try to mount on you, spin and go inside their guard. Totally legitimate option also. Less likely against a skilled opponent, but a possibility nonetheless. So you should expect it. If it happens, take advantage of it.
So ending up in their guard is better than having them in your guard.
Did you guys hear that?
Ending up in their guard is better than having them in your guard.
Although, the guard, the bottom,
is where the submissions come from.
And is essentially the secret weapon of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But just because it's the secret weapon doesn't mean you always want to use it. Because then if you did, it wouldn't be a secret weapon anymore.
Got it.
Let's go. Lay down quick. Try it, and then we'll show you variation number 2 from a kneeling situation. If you ever find yourself sitting up with the hooks in, sitting back mount situation, get to the ground as fast as you can. Get your shoulders on the ground, wiggle, and face your opponent. It's the early escape, it's the best escape. It's the safest one. Now, how do we normally end up in the back mount? You're on the bottom of the mount, you're getting punched in the face, or you try to trap and roll and you fail. And you end up rolling underneath the mount and they put their hooks in. So you end up kneeling with the hooks in. When that happens, trying to escape the back mount from the kneeling position is very difficult. There are some advanced techniques from there, but they're not highly recommended because to go for it, you expose yourself in the process for chokes possibly. And essentially, you have to bear all the weight of your opponent while trying to basically get yourself out is not an easy thing to do. So it's easier to strategically roll to a belly up situation or a sitting back mount situation, as we saw in the first slice, and then put your back on the ground. So we're going to use the principles from the first slice for the kneeling variation. The main difference is protection and a transition to this face-up situation. So let's say he goes for the trap and roll. As he goes, my arm slips out, but he goes to his knees. I get my hooks in. A couple things here. Number one, you don't want to end up on your knees and be exposed here. If your elbows or hands open up like this, the person can easily go for chokes right away, or they can flatten you out and go belly down. Look at the hip pressure. Very, very bad for Hito. Okay? So to prevent both of those from being possible, look how he's going to sit back right now. Go ahead. Look, he sits way back, turtle style. Look at this. Boom. His elbows are connected to his thighs. Okay? His hands are both in front of his neck for protection. And Hito is so curled up that I can't get my underhooks, and I feel like I'm falling off the front. He makes himself very small. He kind of curls up here. And now, the neck protection. Remember when remember in the sitting variation of the early escape, Hito's hand was up on his head, put it up on your head. He was like this. Remember that?
Now, on the kneeling variation, we don't want to put that hand up because it exposes the underhook right here. And a huge part of making it harder for me to control him is preventing the underhook. So he's going to keep his arms down in the kneeling situation. But he's going to protect the neck on one side. Sit up and show them. Look at his hands. He brings this hand across to stop my entry. Okay, I can't get in here. He's protecting like this, palm up. And his other hand is palm down, palm in. So two hands are blocking the choke on one side. By blocking the choke on this side, Hito knows I can only possibly choke him with the other hand. But before I initiate or get anything too tight, here's what he does. So basically the exact same thing from here, okay? I want to get in, I want to choke, okay? Hito favors one side. He's completely neutralizing the chokes on this side. You can see here I can't even get my hand in. And while I think about doing that or try the other side, Hito posts his outside leg or the opposite leg. So if he's blocking the choke on this side, he posts the opposite leg. Oftentimes, that makes me post my hand out because I feel off balance right here. So I might be going for his neck or underhook, but his elbows are very tight and everything's very snug. And now, once his foot goes up, he's going to drive his shoulder to the ground and start to turn belly up. Freeze. Look at his foot over here. See the switch? His foot came from over there. He puts it on the ground over here. Okay, he switches his leg. Now that foot is the driver to keep his shoulders on the ground. Same as slice one. Right now it's essentially the same thing. His hands come down and he begins to block, scoot, and bring his knees inside. For possible sweeps, hooks, guard, whatever. Now, there's kind of a little trick that our father taught us many, many moons ago. Put your hooks in, please. It's kind of a slice one bonus detail, but it applies here as well. So we'll show you now. Whenever you defend the chokes on one side, kneeling, we're here. Sitting, we're here. Whenever you defend the chokes on one side, you neutralize the chokes. You essentially give your opponent one option for the choke, which is the outside hand coming over and around to choke.
Now, from here, which way does Henry want to fall? This way. So we could say that my hand that comes around for the choke is pointing to his escape, the direction he should fall. So my hand coming in right here, he should fall this way. Go.
Oh. But look at pointing meaning, look at the finger.
Pointing, yes. My whole hand is pointing.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So it's a little trick, just something to help you remember which way to go.
That also applies from kneeling. Go on your knees. Here, he's defending. This hand comes in like this. He's going to roll this way. Put the shoulder on the ground.
So you basically want to roll away from the choking arm. Don't roll into the choking arm, roll away from it. So block. And how do you force the choking arm? You prevent the choke on the other side. There is no choke over here. So therefore, I lean forward, put my foot up, start to drive my shoulder to the ground, spread my base right away. Look how I switch my legs, use the foot to stay away. And again, my hands are no longer needed here. At this point, they can start to drop. Boom, boom, boom. And my knees come in. Hooks in.
Right here, when we mean sweep, just hooking this leg, possibly grabbing behind my elbow right here, and just elevating my leg. Go ahead. Just a little elevation right here.
Yeah, it's incredible. As he's climbing up, even the smallest elevation and arm control could possibly tip your opponent over. It's kind of a loose, with a butterfly guard, where you use your hooks to kind of sweep. So use those hooks. They're useful. And if you can't sweep them, go to guard. Now, it's possible that Hito hooks are in. I sit low. My elbows are tight. My head is down. Okay? My hands are protecting the choke on one side very well. Okay, he begins to attack a little bit. Boom. My foot goes up. We fall. We land here. I land my base. So Hito's hand is kind of in the vicinity over here. So it's possible that we do all this move and we land and his hand is around my neck right here, kind of in the area. So I was here protecting my neck. So he didn't get in and grab the lapel. At that point, it's too late. There's a different escape. But his hand is in the area right here, maybe holding whatever. So from here, when this happens, both hands grab the wrist and your head slips under. Again, getting your shoulders to the ground. So if the hand is still threatening your neck a little bit, when you lay down, a lot of times it's not threatening your neck. There is no hand. You just lay down and do your thing here. Boom. But if it is in the area, when you're here, both hands grab the wrist like a baseball bat. Grab it, get your head under it, and you completely eliminate the choke option. because now I'm no longer in between Hidon's arms. Hidon has 2 arms. My head would like to be here, or based on him. For him, he'd like to have the head in the middle. Okay? But when I do this, boom, now my shoulders are out. Then I start to come down with the hand. Immediately I drop the hand, get the hook in. Boom, boom, boom. So, the idea that when you protect and fall, if the hand is still annoying in front, slip it over your head. Okay? It's just a bonus detail we'd like you to keep in mind. And if the hand isn't there, you're here, you protect one side, you put the leg up, you fall down, you switch your base, you lay your shoulders away. Yeah, when you switch and you lay down, the key is to have your shoulders end up as far away from him as you can, really. You want him to land up over here, you want him to land over there while your shoulders land over here. If the hand is still around your neck, slip it, and then continue to lay down, and then go. If the hand isn't around your neck, just put your back on the ground, follow the standard procedure.
And the main reason why the hand would not be around the neck is because when you do that turn, they put their hand out for base.
Very common.
Which I felt was natural for me when I was on your back.
Yeah, when someone's this turtled, that's a good point. Right? Yep. Yeah.
It takes me knowing and being able to predict that hand is going to turn to put my hand here, and even when his leg lifts up, go with him, because I know he's going to roll, so I want to have my hand near his neck so I can possibly maintain back control. And at this point, my goal is to get it off my neck. Grab yours with both hands and slip it. If that's not possible, then you use other options we'll see later. But right now, we're going to get the hand and slip it over the head. If it's there, of course. Anything else? So the key thing here, wow, I think the real key thing here is to understand the difference and the fact that your hands have one task in the beginning, which is neck protection. Either here or here, it's neck protection. Doesn't matter which variation you're doing, first or second slice. They have one task, avoid the choke or protect one side completely. Once you accomplish that task and you get your shoulders on the ground, the neck protection is irrelevant at that point. Now you drop down to the hips, knees, and guard, retrieval, mount, prevention, or sweep possibilities. So the point I'm making is your ability to understand when your hands should be working up top and when your hands are allowed to come down is a huge aspect, huge component of the entire technique. Because if your hands are so concerned here that they don't come down soon enough, meaning you get your back on the ground, you're wiggling away, and you're still worrying about the choke, guess what they're going to do? They're going to mount on you every time because you're not addressing the mount attempt. So they have to build confidence in knowing that if you hold one hand on the collar, you can fall out this way. You can unwind the choke at any time.
Right.
So we could practice you without using your arms, and I can only use one arm. Don't move. And holding this one hand deep in the collar, go. He has to escape. So, gone.
It's unraveled.
Once you got that right there, and that applies for here. Go to your knees. We're here. Let's say I'm going to get this hand right here and grab his collar. It's gone. Same thing.
And I don't need these hands here anymore. I can drop them and worry about the mount attempt.
Wow. So the ability to understand what a real threat is, like Hidon said here, we're identifying that it's not a real threat. When the hand grabs the lapel, if you get your back on the ground, it's not the end of the world because you unravel the choke. So understanding what's a real threat and what isn't. And if you don't understand what real threats are, you're going to overreact to threats that aren't legitimate. So if somebody has one hand in your collar, what is the real threat?
The other hand.
The other hand. If they put one hand in your collar, the real threat is the other hand. So that's why we have to have this defense and this right here. So this is all designed to stop the other hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We have to show him. So if Hidon has his hooks in, Hidon gets one hand on the lapel, and let's say his other hand's coming under my armpit. Come under. Boom.
Boom. When you fall right here, as long as this hand is close to the lapel, you got to be addressing it. But as soon as you lay your body weight on it, look, grab the lapel. Hidon can't reach anything anymore. His hand is smashed. So therefore, there is no more real threat once I land his bottom arm. But as long as it's close to my lapel, I got to address it and respect it. As soon as it's done, then my hands have another mission over here. Go.
The only time one arm, one hand can be very dangerous is if you fall to the wrong side.
Grab the leg grab, the hand behind the head, lapel choke,
Or even rear naked choke if you fall to the wrong side. Or even just some brute pulling without grabbing anything.
Yes. It just makes sense. Look, if this is the choking arm. We talked about it in racing combatives. Don't fall into the bucket, fall outside of the bucket. Look at the bucket.
You got it.
Okay? Incredible. So we're applying these principles of getting your shoulders to the ground to the kneeling variation. We're favoring one side, eliminating all choke possibilities, and we're turning and driving our back to the ground. And once our back hits the ground, if the hand is there, we slip it. If the hand isn't there, we just drive, wiggle, wiggle. And we know that once our back is on the ground, the hands can come down and go to work. On the knees, on the hips, shrimp out. Okay? Once you lay down, boom, your feet start to work the knee. Don't muscle the knee. Look, push off your feet a little bit, push here, and your hips move away from him. And that creates space for the knee entry. So you don't move him, you move you.
That's commonly used right there.
Oh, gosh.
You say that a lot. Don't move him. Move yourself. Move you.
Interesting. And just a side note from Slice 1, as I was watching you guys practice Slice 1, I noticed some of you were doing this. Not good. This does not count. It's this.
Not even a thought should be able to pass through here. Nothing. Look at this. Okay, this is water, air, vacuum sealed.
100%. It's your neck on the line. Do that really tight and you're good to go. And if you're in the turtle situation here, your hands are closed. Let's go. Practice it. Kneeling variation. Start from the mount, roll out, hooks in, and sit low, defend, turn, face. And if there are hands in the vicinity, make sure you slip it over. If not, don't worry about it.
And when you go 100%. When you start turning, just keep turning. Turn.
For the rest of your life.
You're going to realize how annoying it is to have your partner's back when your partner turns and turns with so much determination.
Yes.
That's huge. If he turns 30%, I'm going to bring him back control.
Yes.
But when he turns 120%, when he goes serious, I just let go. It's too much work. It's too much energy.
Very hard. Yeah. Bottom line is the front person has to be more serious about their turn and their shoulders on the ground than the back person is serious about keeping the back mount. No matter who's more serious.
And because the bottom person's life is in danger, it should be a little easier for you to be more serious.
Yes. Your life is in danger. Let's try it. In this rapid mastery drill, we want to focus on the most likely sequence of events. And that means rolling from the mount, getting your back taken. Once you get your back taken, you don't want to escape from there. You want to escape, you want to roll out and escape while facing up. There are two times at which you might roll out. One, you self-initiate the rollout, which you saw in Slice 2, kneeling variation of the early escape. We just learned that. The other time you might roll out is when the person on your back grabs you and pulls you to the side against your will. So you didn't initiate that shoulder drop and that twist and that technical escape. You just got forced over belly up. If you get forced over like that, what are you going to use? Standard variation. Because once you get forced over, you might end up more or less in a sitting position. And at that point, immediately, hands up and quickly drive to the ground. So when you get pulled over against your will, your hands shoot up because you can't risk letting them shoot your neck. Okay? So you go up and you protect here and you fall very strategically. So RMD. Level 1, stronger opponent. Okay? Just more control, a lot of strength in the control. Level 2, maybe a little more strategic on the choke. And level 3, punches. Not really. Okay? I mean, if you think about it, once you get to your knees, it's possible that someone sits up and tries to punch you in the back of the head, but
that's going to make the turn very easy.
It's going to make their control's going to be very weak. You're going to turn very quick, and you're going to end up facing them. So let's really focus primarily, because the back person, the main problem he can cause for you
is control and chokes. That's our main concern. Punches are concerned only if you stay here at the knees. So just don't stay there and it's gone. So our main focus is level 2, someone who wants to control your back, keep your back, and possibly go for the choke. So let's focus on that. Can you mount on you, please? Okay. So here's the exercise. I'm going to roll on my knees. I'm going to bridge and roll. Hidong gets to practice his back mount skills. Taking the back, he's going to modify his mount. And once we get there, I'm going to defend. Start off at moderate intensity. Okay? So boom, boom. Get up and get back right away. Protect. Now, move over, you pull me back. Pull me back. Let's say you're opposed to that. Once you get here, look, immediately, 1, 2.
So I pretty much just pulled him right into this escape. It's almost the same motion.
Yeah, he pulls me in, and we end up sitting up for a moment. We're here. So I drive myself to the ground right away. Wide base, head low as possible. Start to square the hips up, hips out, knee inside. Boom. Okay? That would be the most realistic transition into the standard variation. Okay? Now, of course, if he was on my back going for the choke, I want to initiate the rollover because that way when I initiate, I end up with my back on the ground as early as possible without any risk of any hands coming in. Protect.
The question is, when he initiates, go ahead, is my hand going to stay here or am I going to post it out? So my hand's by his neck.
Grab his wrist with both hands, start pushing it away, slip it over. Get the hand over your neck. And then square up. Boom. Yeah, those are the two primaries.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe one time also, strong opponent just wants to hold you, go ahead, roll. So he rolls, I take the back, and I pull him back, and Henner allows me, sit up a little bit, to go hold hands. No reason why not. Good one. And now he just grabs my wrist, and slowly just turn.
Head inside if I can, inside of Hidong's head. And now that Hidong's hand's under my armpit and my head's down, I can lower this arm a little bit, but push off my feet and really start to drive myself. Keep a very wide base. Keep a very wide base. Sometimes at this point, he might try to use his foot to do a crossover. If he does that, make sure your hips move out over his knee. Keep moving out as far as possible and wiggling away. Now he's holding on for dear life right now, but he's not doing anything. I'm safe. So at this point, I would just chill and hopefully watch out for the mount attempt. Because he has to let go of me before he mounts.
So you're in no major hurry to get up. I'm just squeezing. I know I'm losing him. So I don't want to let go.
But Hidong wants to advance his position also.
But right now my arm is a little trapped. So when you move, go ahead, move.
As long as he doesn't mount.
That's common. That the person behind the bad guy holds and holds and holds and holds. And the person in front is so used to the move happening in 15 seconds, 20 seconds, that sometimes the person behind holds so tight that it might cause you to have to sit there for 20 extra seconds.
Don't put if you get locked up like that, just don't put the pressure on yourself to have to rush your way out. If you get trapped somewhere in a tight spot, say, whoa, I'm just going to chill right here. He's wasting energy, and I'm safe. I'm not getting choked or punched. So like, I'm totally allowed to wait. And it's that patient mindset, the ability to wait in a problem scenario just to chill and do nothing, that I think is being forgotten in many places.
That's what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, so incredible. Know when to do nothing. It's equally, if not more important, than knowing when to do something and to act and be offensive. So, you guys understand. Start from the bottom, roll to your knees, hooks in, and we have several options from there. Either they pull you back, in which case you go to here and fall quick, or you protect your neck and you initiate the shoulder to the ground and the belly up and then the heavy shoulder walk out, the early escape. In either case, this is the earliest escape from the back mount, and therefore the one that you should trust and rely on and use the most often. You don't want to get tied up in the back mount. And if you do, there are other options. We will cover them. But for right now, let's perfect our ability to get out as soon as possible. And in doing so, eliminate all possible submission opportunities against us. Okay, early escape from the back mount. Here we go. Rapid mastery. Take your time. Give feedback, cause problems, and you're good to go. Okay, it's time to roll. Let's spar freestyle focused with one rule. One rule. What's the rule? Every time you achieve the mount, every time Hidong mounts on me, I must
roll to my knees, give my back to my opponent. Now, do you really have to do that? Is that a rule? Do you have to always turn your back because you asked for it? Just as Henner says, turn your back. Do you have to do it? No. You should want to do it though. You should want to turn to your knees and give your back.
Right.
Believe this. Nobody cares more about your advancement in jiu-jitsu than us.
Not one person.
So when we say turn your back, it's because we know it's going to help you practice these escapes.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it. Because if you do your job right, you should never give your back. But if you never give your back, you're never going to sharpen that sword. Now, you had the rapid mastery drill. You just performed the RMD, and in that, yes, you understood these techniques a little bit better. But now, to see how that ties in with the rest of all your techniques is what you should try to create and experience in this focused sparring session. Okay? So, mounting your partner. Every time you get caught in the mount, you roll. Now, once you get out of the back mount and you defend, and you go to guard, freestyle. You go for your chokes. He goes for his passes, sweeps, side mount. Prevent the mount at all costs. Prevent the mount, prevent the mount. Now, let's say you're so good that your partner can never mount on you. And then you can let them mount. 3 minutes in, let them mount, and then give your back just for fun. But until then, it's totally correct to shrimp out, go to guard, bump, high-low guard, elbow escape, transition. Don't let them mount. But if they do, rule number 1, go to your knees, give the back. When you give your back, immediately protect. And when you get there, there are 2 options. Either you're going to initiate the shoulder drive and turn facing them, or they're going to pull you back and rip you to the back mount, at which point you're going to quickly go to the standard variation, drop to the ground quickly.
Unless they get the over-under.
Yes.
And then it won't be that quick.
Yes.
But the direction is the same.
If they get a tight over-under and you can't escape the back mount, we're going to show you what to do next. Okay? We're going to show you how to escape. So these are early escapes that can be done prior to them establishing full control and the triple threat. Because from the triple threat with the over-under, it's hard to do this technique. It is a challenge. We understand that. So this is the best back mount escape strategy. The early escape is the best strategy against someone who doesn't have full control, or against an amateur who might have the back mount but doesn't know how to control it that well. So you can wiggle out your back to the ground little by little. Freestyle flow, back mount focus. Mount, roll, give your back. And if you get caught, understand that you gave your back. It's all good. You get choked in the process, they're going to go for your neck, for real. If they catch you, be glad it was your brother catching you instead of...
So don't get all sad if you lose. Okay.
Early escape from the back mount. It's the first escape we learned as kids, and now it's the first escape you've learned. It's the most important one you'll ever learn. It's the first one you should resort to if your back is taken. Get your back to the ground quick and mean business.
The main reason why we are still able to execute this escape right here is because when we go hard, okay? We don't stop. When we say, you know what, like the clinch, same as the clinch. When you're gonna clinch somebody, you don't clinch 30% and, you know, hold back. When you start to clinch, you keep going forward until your forearms hit their chest and you achieve the clinch. So, same thing here. When your arms are set and you drive your shoulders into the ground, you keep driving, you keep moving your foot out, you keep putting all your weight on your shoulders, lifting your hips up, doing whatever it takes to get your shoulders on the ground, which therefore, they are not on your back.
Because remember, as you begin to slip away from the back mount, if they're smart enough to get on your back, they're smart enough to know, the attacker, they're smart enough to know that they want to keep your body glued to theirs. So what Hidon's saying is like beyond ridiculously important.
So as soon as you fall down, like you said, you're going to want to pull me back.
Yes.
I already know that you want to pull me back.
And I know Hidon's going to want to stay away from me. So guess who wins?
Whoever's more serious
About their career.
about their life.
And like Hidon said in the lesson, because you're the one, the defendant is the one running for their life, they should survive. Okay? If you're the lion, or if you're the gazelle and you're running from the lion, who has the better incentive to run for their life? The lion loses one meal. The gazelle loses his life.
But the lion could be like
Starving.
dying of hunger.
And if that's the case, you better run fast. Keep your back on the ground. Okay? This is a survival technique. And the earlier you go for it, the better. Early escape.
You can't go too early.